Thank you, Erica, for getting us off to a great start. My name is Brad Springer, and I will continue now with Section 3. We have a lot to cover, so let's dive in. Section 3 focuses on the enterprise wellness engagement process. In other words, this is where we begin discussing how wellness professionals actually build relationships with organizations and move from an initial conversation to a functioning wellness program. Up to this point in the course, you have learned about the enterprise wellness landscape, the major professional frameworks that guide the field, and the organizational structures that exist within corporate clients. Now we move into the practical side of the profession. Enterprise wellness programs do not begin with a product presentation. They begin with discovery, analysis, and thoughtful consultation. A skilled practitioner must be able to identify appropriate organizations, conduct a meaningful needs assessment, translate that information into a structured proposal, and communicate program value in a way that resonates with leadership. This process requires more than knowledge of health and wellness. It requires business awareness, professional communication skills, and an understanding of how large organizations make decisions. In the slides that follow, we will walk through the engagement process step by step. We will move from prospecting and discovery through proposal development, financial justification, procurement review, and ultimately the transition into program implementation. Effective enterprise wellness practice begins with identifying organizations that represent realistic program opportunities. Not every employer is positioned to support a structured wellness initiative. Part of professional discipline is learning to focus your efforts where meaningful engagement is possible. Most enterprise wellness programs operate in organizations with a workforce large enough to generate meaningful population health data and justify the administrative structure required to manage programming. In practice, this often means companies with at least 100 employees, although the exact threshold can vary depending on the design of the program. Another important indicator involves the employer's insurance structure. Many organizations that actively invest in wellness initiatives are self-insured employers. In these environments, the company pays healthcare claims directly rather than purchasing a fully insured plan. Because the financial relationship between employee health and healthcare spending is more immediate, leadership often shows greater interest in prevention and health improvement programs. Industry context also plays a role. Organizations with physically demanding work environments, high stress roles, or elevated cardiovascular risk frequently recognize the value of wellness initiatives earlier than others. Finally, professional networking remains one of the most effective prospecting strategies available. Human resources associations, benefits professional groups, and local business organizations often bring together the very decision makers responsible for workforce well-being initiatives. Once a potential client has been identified, the first meaningful interaction is typically the needs assessment meeting. The purpose of this meeting is not to present a program or deliver a sales pitch. Instead, it is a structured discovery conversation designed to understand the organization's workforce, priorities, and operational environment. Preparation for this meeting is extremely important. Before entering the conversation, a practitioner should review publicly available information about the organization. This may include the company's industry, workforce size, geographic footprint, and any recent developments that may influence organizational priorities. This preparation demonstrates professionalism and allows the discussion to begin at a more informed level. During the meeting itself, the practitioner explores several key domains. Workforce profile questions help clarify the demographic composition of the employee population and identify operational factors such as shift work, multiple locations, or physically demanding job roles. The discussion should also explore whether the organization has collected any health-related data, such as health risk assessments, claim summaries, or biometric screening information. Equally important is understanding the organization's motivation. Some companies prioritize healthcare cost management. Others focus on employee engagement, retention, or workplace culture. Understanding these priorities ensures that any future proposal aligns with leadership expectations rather than assumptions. After the discovery process is complete, the practitioner translates those insights into a formal program proposal. This document serves as both a strategic plan and a decision-making tool for the client organization. A strong proposal usually begins with a concise executive summary. Many senior leaders will read this section first, so it should clearly explain the recommended program, the anticipated organizational benefits, and the overall direction of the initiative. The proposal should then summarize the findings from the needs assessment. Presenting an organizational profile demonstrates that the recommendation is grounded in the specific characteristics of the client's workforce rather than being based on a generic template. This reinforces the consultative nature of the relationship. The next section describes the program design itself. This includes the interventions being proposed, the delivery methods that will be used, and the ways employees will participate in the program. An implementation timeline typically follows. This section explains how the program will be launched, communicated to employees, and monitored over time. Finally, the proposal should clearly present the program investment and the metrics that will be used to evaluate outcomes. When structured effectively, this document allows leadership to visualize how the program would function within their organization. One of the most important competencies in enterprise wellness practice is the ability to communicate program value in financial and organizational terms. Corporate leaders evaluate wellness initiatives in much the same way they evaluate other business investments. The concept most frequently referenced in these conversations is return on investment, commonly known as ROI. In the wellness context, ROI refers to measurable financial savings generated by a program relative to the cost of implementing that program. These savings can occur through several pathways. Reduced healthcare claims may lower overall medical spending. Improved employee health may decrease absenteeism and short-term disability utilization. Productivity may also improve when employees experience better physical and mental well-being. Research across the corporate wellness field has frequently reported positive financial returns for sustained programs. Some analyses suggest average medical cost savings of roughly $3 for every dollar invested. However, organizations increasingly consider another concept known as value on investment, or VOI. This broader perspective includes outcomes such as improved morale, stronger workplace culture, and higher employee retention. While these outcomes may not always be expressed in direct financial terms, they remain extremely important to organizational leaders. Even when a proposal is well received, program approval rarely happens immediately. In many mid-sized and large organizations, a formal procurement and legal review process must occur before a new vendor relationship can begin. Procurement departments typically evaluate vendors according to standardized organizational criteria. These requirements often include proof of business insurance, financial documentation, professional references, and confirmation that the vendor meets relevant compliance standards. Having a prepared vendor documentation package allows wellness professionals to respond quickly and avoid unnecessary delays during this stage. Legal review focuses primarily on the contract itself. Attorneys may examine the scope of services, liability provisions, payment structures, and termination terms to ensure the agreement aligns with organizational policy. If the program involves the collection of employee health information, additional privacy considerations may also arise. In some organizations, an information security review will evaluate how employee data will be stored, protected, and accessed within the program's technology systems. During this phase, the practitioner's role is to remain organized, responsive, and patient while administrative review moves forward. The final stage of the enterprise wellness engagement process occurs when the organization formally commits to the program through contract execution. While this moment represents the successful close of the sales process, it also marks the beginning of the service relationship. Contract execution typically involves confirming final program terms, verifying signature authority within the organization, and completing internal purchasing requirements. The contract should clearly define program scope, deliverables, reporting expectations, payment schedules, and procedures for modifying program elements if organizational needs change. Once the agreement is finalized, the engagement transitions into the onboarding phase. This stage is sometimes overlooked, but it plays a critical role in shaping the client's early impressions of the partnership. A structured onboarding process ensures that the insights gathered during discovery and proposal development are carried forward into program implementation. The onboarding stage typically introduces the implementation timeline, identifies internal champions within the organization, and clarifies communication channels between the wellness provider and the client team. When onboarding is handled professionally, it reinforces the client's confidence and sets the stage for a successful long-term partnership. In this section, you explored the full life cycle of an enterprise-wide wellness engagement. The process begins with identifying organizations whose workforce characteristics and leadership priorities align with structured wellness programming. From there, the practitioner conducts a needs assessment meeting designed to understand the organization's workforce, operational environment, and strategic motivations. Those insights are then translated into a structured proposal that outlines program design, implementation planning, and evaluation metrics. You also examine the importance of communicating program value. By presenting both return on investment and value on investment perspectives, wellness professionals help organizational leaders understand the full impact of these initiatives. Finally, we discuss the administrative stages that follow proposal acceptance, including procurement review, legal approval, contract execution, and the onboarding transition into implementation. Together, these competencies allow a wellness practitioner to operate not simply as a service vendor, but as a strategic partner capable of guiding organizations toward healthier and more productive workplaces.